setting up a limited company, so a private company in the UK. So we'll run through what it is and just sort of the basics on how to get set up and what's needed to do so. So we'll start with what is a limited company. So on the website, it's described as an organisation that is set up and run, set up to run your business, responsible for its own right, and its finances are separate to your personal finances, so that's an important part. And then any profit that it makes is owned by the company, and that sits in a company bank account, so you have to have a separate bank account. And then that's subject to corporation tax, which in the UK is 20%. And then from that, the company shares out its profits, and that's how obviously you get paid. So we'll just we'll start by looking here on the, if you go to Google and just Google setting up a limited company, you get to this page on gov.uk, and you set up a limited company through Companies House, which is in the UK, that's sort of the main government organisation. Sorry, that's in charge of companies as such. So yeah, if you run through this page, it sort of gives you the need to know stuff. So you need to come up with your name, you need to make sure you've got an address, at least one director, and a SIC code. Now if you click on that link, you'll get through to a document that's like this, and what you do is you tap in your business is going to be, and that gives you a description. So for me, for example, ad agency 73110, so that's the code. So just make a note of that code for when you're sort of starting up. So, and then on a company name, again, you can, if you start here, you can go through to this page, and it just explains sort of about the different rules for having names, because you can't have names that are too similar, and you can't have something that's already being used. And again, you can check the Companies House, so that's the entity Companies House in the UK. You can check their register. If you click on that link, it takes you through to this one. Sorry, I just typed hello. But you basically, if you type whatever you want in this search bar, it then gives you a list of all the companies that are listed with that name or that word in their title. So just as an example, there you go, hello, and it's got all these different companies, and these are all registered companies, so you can't have any of these names, but you just search for what you want. So again, and make sure you read through. It's pretty simple. Just don't have a name that someone else has already got or is very similar to someone else's, but you can play with that, and then you can talk about your trading name, which you can have as a slight variation from your company name, or you can add limited in, and LLP, which is partnership. So touching upon that, you've got then different types of companies as well when you start up. So you've got a private company that's limited by guarantee. They're generally sort of non-for-profit organisations, not always, but that is normally what they're for, and that's sort of charities and things like that. You then get a public limited company, so that's obviously a much larger company that's sort of got shares that the public is available to the public. Then you've got a limited partnership company, a partnership limited company basically, which is when you're going in with someone else. And then you've got a private company limited by shares, and that's the standard one as such, and that's what we'll be going through today, and that's what I started up as sort of someone who was doing it by themselves at that point. When I set up my company for my digital marketing agency. So I went for private by shares, and that's sort of made it just a limited company with me. Then when it comes to your company address, so you have to have the company address as a physical address in the UK. So you do have to have one UK based address. So if you're setting up a company from another in the UK, but you're based normally in another country, there must be at least one UK address that you can register as the company address. And then you can have your directors or service address, which is the other addresses that you need to put in when you're applying. They can be anywhere in the world. They can be your address if you live abroad or whatever, as long as there is one physical address in the UK. Yeah, and if you live in the UK, that can be your home address. But as it says there, it is publicly available on the online register. So whether you want to use your home address is obviously up to you. I mean, it might be your only option. So then you've got the sorry, the directors, and what you have to do remember is the director can be yourself, or another company or another person if you wanted it to. So what you do when you assume the role of director is basically you're assuming responsibility for the limited company. So there are responsibilities that come with being a director, but essentially it's saying it's your company, it's in your name, and then you can assign a company secretary as well. That's an option. It's non-optional. There has to be a director. As it states here, as long as you're over 16. So some people think it's 18, but you only have to be over 16 to be a company director. And yeah, sorry, as I was saying, so company secretary, that means so someone who would do your admin. So if you do have someone who would be doing your admin, you can put them down. If not, it's sort of an option. It's not necessary. So you don't have to have one. And then if you're the director, you'll say if you're starting it by yourself, which I know lots of people do, then they're generally the shareholders and the sole shareholders. So they'll have 100%, as it says there, you'll have 100% of the company. So what you do is you assign yourself 100% of the shares, and then you give your shares a value. And as it says here, so you could issue yourself 500 shares at £1 each. So your capital will be £500. That doesn't mean that you have to pay £500. That just puts it's putting a value on the company and the shares, so it's just quantifying it for Companies House sake and for registering it as a company. Then you get a memorandum. It's literally, you just click that, it brings up a little template of a page that you can print off if you sign it, and then fill it in, and it's just agreeing to form the company, basically. So again, if you're on your own, there's only one of you needs to sign it, and if there's 2 or 3 of you, then as long as everyone puts their name down, it's fine. It's just a legal document, just to say that you've signed. It's to show your signature. Again, then when you come through to here, as you can see here, it's just you click that, and that takes you through to the page, a new page, and then you go through and actually fill out all the forms. It's £12 and you pay by PayPal, so that's pretty easy and it's pretty good. So yeah, and to be honest, if you just follow those sort of steps and then click here to go through to starting filling out the form, it's pretty straightforward. And then once you've started the company, what will happen is you get sent a letter, and you get a little certificate, but you get sent a letter, and it says as director, again, it sort of goes over your responsibilities. So you have to remember that as a director, you have to fill out not necessarily fill out, because you might have an accountant who does that, but you have to file the annual accounts, the confirmation statement, and the tax returns to HMRC. The accounts and the confirmation statement go to Companies House, and the tax returns go to HMRC. So that includes all your corporation tax, and it's that sort of thing that you are responsible for. And if you don't do within the time, that's when they sort of come after you. So it's worth bearing in mind that when you put your name down, you are responsible for that. And you'll also get another letter with a confirmation code, and it does basically give you a little web address, and it says go here, fill in the confirmation code, and that activates your company on sort of Companies House listing. So as I was saying, yeah, with the accounts, I would wholly recommend, once you've done this, if you know an accountant or know someone who's set up a business or has a limited company in the UK, sit down and speak to them for an hour. If you don't have anyone, you go see an accountant. I'd highly recommend it, because they explain a lot of what you need to do in terms of accounts and statements and the tax returns and all the various things that you do need to do. But it is really helpful, because they do clarify a lot that the HMRC website doesn't clarify. And even HMRC website just says, go see an accountant. So basically you do have to pay, but it's worth it if it saves you a lot of headaches in the future. Because you will also get sort of forms from HMRC. So you'll get them through the post as soon as you've set up your company and it's accepted. And if you come back to this page, then you can go for register for corporation tax, as long as you do it within 3 months. Again, I'd recommend you do it as soon as you can, and it's done, it's out of the way then. And you just click on this link, and it takes you to a page, put in some details about your company, and it gives you a number. Now make sure you write down that number, because they only show you once, they don't email it to you. So that's your sort of your login number for getting to your corporation tax. So definitely make a note of that one. And to be honest, that's sort of it. Once you've registered for corporation tax, they send you more stuff through the post. They asking you for sort of all that stuff. And then you just fill out forms and send them away. And when you go on the website, you can register when your annual accounts are due and give all the dates and all the information. And generally it's done 1 year after you've signed up as a company, depending on when you want to be active or inactive. Because when you start a company, you can set it as inactive until a certain date. So you give yourself a couple of weeks to get everything sort of lined up and everything in order before actually going for it. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It's quite easy. For £12, it's not expensive. I know in other countries it costs a lot more to actually get set up, although over here you pay a lot of tax, so it probably works out. And just on the sort of accounting side of it, again, highly recommend when you start, all receipts, just start an Excel spreadsheet. And I know even if you're going to use QuickBooks or one of the web-based apps for your accounting, and then send it to a bookkeeper or an accountant, highly recommend just get it all down, just start making a note of it. And the same with mileage. The UK government pay 45p a mile for mileage that you do or for business reasons. So if you're driving and traveling for business, just have another spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, and just log where you've been, maybe why and how far it was, and then work it out at 45p a mile. It's pretty simple. But I highly recommend doing those things. But yeah, so that's everything. I hope this is useful for those of you who are looking to start up a business or are a bit confused with it on how to do it online. Definitely recommend doing it online. And any issues or thoughts or comments, please leave them below. And remember to like and subscribe. So thanks very much. I'll see you next time.